40 is your local election headquarters. Republican candidate for State Attorney General Nathan Hochman speaking out in response to the Supreme Court's recent decisions on guns and also abortion. In his first TV interview since the primary election, Hochman spoke with Capitol reporter Ashley Zavala. She shows us what he wants voters to know when it comes to these issues.
I will commit now to enforcing all the laws on the books of the state of California protecting a woman's reproductive rights. Full stop.
Republican State Attorney General candidate Nathan Hochman making this promise in response to the Supreme Court's decision to strike down federal abortion protections.
I have a beautiful daughter. I have a wife. I have a mother, sisters. Their rights, their ability to control their own reproductive decisions is something that I was steeped in from the beginning. And so committing to protecting women's reproductive rights is something I would take extremely seriously and dedicate myself as the Attorney General to do.
Hochman, who has served as a federal prosecutor and assistant United States Attorney General, said he was surprised by the Supreme Court's decision. As more than 24 states prepare to have abortion protections stripped, Hochman weighed in on California's effort to help out-of-state people seeking abortions.
I will leave for the state legislature to decide how best to allocate California's resources, and if they want to pay for certain things or not pay for certain things, that's the decision of the California legislature. The California Attorney General, on the hand, enforces those laws once they come on the books, and that's what I would intend to do.
The Supreme Court's decision on abortion has raised future concerns for LGBTQ rights and contraception, which Hochman says he would protect.
100%. I'm fully in support of the same-sex unions, same-sex marriages, contraception certainly, and people to be able to take charge of their own liberty and have a substantive right to do it under the U.S. Constitution, I fully believe in.
On guns, the Supreme Court last week struck down a New York law similar to California's that requires people who want to carry a gun in public to prove they have a particular need, such as a direct threat to their safety. Hochman does not expect too much to change in California in response. He says he's prepared to enforce California's more than 100 firearm-related laws on the books. One that may become law soon would allow private citizens to sue the makers, sellers, and deliverers of illegal assault weapons and ghost guns. The law was modeled after Texas's abortion ban.
I don't believe generally in private bounty laws to begin with. I think that if the state attorney general is actually doing his job, you do not need private citizens doing the job for the state attorney general. State attorney general has over 4,000 lawyers and a huge number of investigators and partners across law enforcement.
Hochman also said if elected, he'll crack down on ghost guns and take away guns from those on the state's backlogged list of those in the armed and prohibited persons system.
And these are 26,000 people who should not and are legally prohibited from having a gun. Here's my vow. Within the first 18 months, if we have the funding, we'll go after all 26,000.
Hochman says he's prepared for his Democratic opponent and current Attorney General Rob Bonta to attack him for being part of the Republican Party. Hochman says his campaign is focusing on making California safer.
So Rob Bonta does not want to face that issue. He does not. So he's going to try and make abortion and the constitutional amendment the issue that voters focus on for the California Attorney General's office. The problem is there is no distance between him and myself in enforcing those rights.
In Sacramento, Ashley Zavala, Fox 40 News.